Welcome to a quick tour of the Formnext 2025. So let's start with one of the coolest things I saw there. RLP's Levity printer. RLP stands for Rapid Liquid Print, and they have this tank filled with a suspension gel that you can just rinse off with water. And as the name implies, the parts are suspended in that gel. And look at that syringe style print head, if you want to call it that, go in that goo. It's fascinating. And it's laying down layer by layer. And well, you don't need support material because you're printing inside the support material. Look at that huge tank. And they can reuse this material for up to 3 months. Here you can see an applied example where they printed the liner of a helmet, some bicycle handlebars, and the matching seat. By varying the density of the material, they can vary the hardness of it, which is really cool. I tried that and that's really amazing. A company called Lines from France is printing out these huge parts, which are marine-grade outboard housings. These would usually be made from fiberglass, and they can push out 8 of these a day, divide 24 by 8, and you get 3 hours per piece. That's pretty amazing. Yes, they're a bit rough, and they need to be finished and painted, but, well, I think this is pretty impressive. And here in the background you can see some other marine parts where they also have a finished version on display. Really cool. So this might be a bit spooky, but I find this fascinating. 3D printed implants made of metal. This is really cyborg style, isn't it? I like it. And this looks pretty terrifying to me, having a back injury already, but well, if it helps, it helps. And have you ever seen a hip replacement? Well, that's how that looks. Also 3D printed, of course. Pretty cool. Also pretty terrifying, yes. This huge thing is a vacuum work holding jig from a company called Breton from Italy. I find it fascinating because it combines 3D printing and machining. Imagine you would have to cut that from one big piece of aluminium. You can see the vacuum lines here go to the top surface, and the top surface is cut into slots, and you can see these white parts are gaskets to form a vacuum, and then you can measure your workpiece. That's pretty crazy. Or it's not crazy, it's really cool. And of course, since it's a trade show, they also showed off how big they can print with these smiley city things. Really funny idea. And check out this copolymer printer. I really was fascinated by the looks. It's pretty timeless. I mean, this could be in a Kubrick movie. Like, imagine that in 2001 Space Odyssey. You wouldn't think it doesn't fit, would you? I thought that was really nice. So let's switch to something more mainstream now. Everyone and their mom will tell you there's a new Prusa Core 1L and that you can now print silicone with the Prusa XL. But did you know that Prusa had a medical line and a pro line where they have these spider printers or whatever they're called? And they basically have print farms that look like server racks and are fully automated, and you can load the spools in the back. Pretty nice. And while Bamboo Lab had a scenic mountain railroad diorama, Creality had the dystopian version of that. I don't think neither of them planned that, but I found that pretty funny. And while 3D printed shoes were a new thing last year, they were everywhere this year. Every manufacturer showed off new TPU, VarioShore, whatever, and looking forward to testing that. You could even buy some shoes at the trade show. That was pretty amazing. And a pro manufacturer showed camper soles. I couldn't verify if they were for prototypes or for manufacturing, but impressive. One player in the TPU improvement game is Recreus, with their Filaflex material that has a 2.2mm diameter, optimizing surface to volume heat up ratio or whatever. I'm looking forward to test that. You need a new hot end, but that new hot end also can work with the 1.75 material. And check out the dress of one of their employees. It was 3D printed. That looked pretty amazing. Check out the close-up here. So back to the odd stuff again. This company printed a boat. And, well, why not if you can? I also went to check out one of the biggest players in the game, Stratasys. And especially their healthcare stuff is kind of, well, I don't even know what it is, but it's pretty cool to look at. And it Could also come straight from a horror movie. And this thing I thought looked really cool, a clear bioreactor. And since it's a trade show, they made a chess set with different internal visible parts of your body. And that I thought was also pretty cool. Here's the machines that print these things. They're pretty crazy. I mean, this is pro level, as pro as it gets. But these are the different cartridges with the material that you can exchange. And they have this big one, but they also have a smaller version. And well, guess what these cost? If I remember correctly, the big one is 420,000 euros. The small one is a steal at only 120. What I always find fascinating are these really big robot arms that then print out stuff. It's really mesmerizing when they go really slow and print really big parts. These ones even print concrete, smaller or larger scale. This one prints with pellets instead of filament, and that makes sense if you're printing in that large scale. And the next one here is printing onto a conveyor belt. Maybe the funniest thing I saw was this literal toaster oven that was turned into a filament dryer. But, I mean, why not? It might be a smart idea, and I was not aware that filament rolls fit perfectly into this kind of toaster oven. Pretty cool, or rather, pretty hot. And last but not least, let me show you the conceptual reinterpretation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs by German company FIT. They specialize in all sorts of additive manufacturing and combined them all in this interesting setup where they combined all the manufacturing processes that they have and showed them off as the body parts of Snow White and also the coffin and also the seven dwarfs that you see on the wall here. Pretty interesting, pretty cool, very nice. And this concludes the highlights of my Formnext 2025. See you next year.